accept other faith systems. So Sanatan Dharma again has the concept of Sampradaya. You can join a Vaishnava sect, you can go to a Devi temple, you can go to different temples, check out the vibes over there, see if you
Correct.
relate to, and then choose that as well.
How does one know which deity to select to pray to? Mantras are actually like chemical reactions. Then will take place in a way that you don't want it.
Don't want to.
Yeah, and it can misfire. So everything should be perfect, and that perfection can be achieved under guidance.
The moment you do that, you incur something called as karma. So karma is not revenge, or it is said that at the time of your death, you feel a lot of pain. And our texts actually, not to scare anybody, but our texts describe it as the stinging of 14,000, 10,000 scorpions all at once.
Gen Z and millennials will not want to accept spirituality or religion unless they have experienced it or have understood it in a logical, scientific manner. And for that, we specially have a guest who is going to do just that. And I'm extremely grateful that he's agreed to come on my show. Thank you so much, Mr. Manik Rage, for coming on to the show and enlightening us today.
Thank you. Enlightening scientific logic. That's a lot of pressure on me, but I will try and have a great discussion with you, because this is a topic that's become very close to my heart. So looking forward to this, and thank you for having me over here. Pleasure's all mine.
Thank you. Manik, you've been breaking down complex spiritual and religious concepts into very simple, relatable stuff for Gen Z millennials, everybody on social media. How did you start this journey? Why did you think of this? Why do you think it's important for the youth today to know about Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma or spirituality, as a matter of fact?
It's very interesting you bring that, because all of my adult life, I have grown up as what people would call an atheist or an atheist, not believing in God altogether.
Yeah.
So my story is something I'm sure a lot of people listening and seeing this will relate to. I grew up in a religious household. हम अपने दादा दादी की स्टोरीज सुनते हैं. They teach us to recite certain mantras, certain things. No matter what faith or religion you're born into, it's usually the grandparents who start introducing you to these things. So I used to go to temples. I used to wear my kurtas. I used to do all of these religious things, and I grew up in a very religious household, never knowing why we do these things.
Absolutely.
And what had happened at that time was, the rule I was given was that if you pray, God will answer back and give you good things. I was told that good kids or good boys always pray to God, and then God listens to them and fulfills their wishes, helps them, guides them, protects them. None of that happened. I was badly bullied in school for my color, for my weight, for the way I talk, or for the person I am. And all of that kind of broke my confidence. ऐसे लगता है ना कि डेटिंग ऐप पे मैच होता है पर वो मैच रिस्पॉन्ड नहीं करता है. तो ऐसे लगा मुझे कि God has ghosted me as well. So I deleted my spirituality with him and continued living all of my life as an atheist. Then recently, during COVID and after it, a lot of us lost a lot of loved ones too. I lost someone who was close to my heart, and I was there at the funeral grounds. And in Hinduism, we cremate bodies. We light them on fire, and I was there. I did that ceremony because she didn't have anybody of her own. So as a friend, as a brother, I did that. And that triggered something in me to ask the question: why do we cremate? Why do we not bury? Like in some other religions, Christians, Muslims, they bury their dead. Why do Hindus cremate instead? So all of that brought back a lot of questions into my heart. And I decided, if I'm not getting any answers, I will go in search of them myself. And that's how I started posting my research notes on Instagram. The goal was never to get famous or attract any following. The goal was just to look at my own meanings, understand why we do certain things, and then share them with people. So we'll get into that. I know you have a lot of interesting questions lined up. But the fact of the story is most of us are introduced to the concept of God, Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma, whatever you want to call it, as a transactional thing, meaning that if you become religious, then good things will happen to you. And when those things don't happen to you, many of us lose our faith. हम बोलते हैं ना कि कोई यात्रा पे जा रहा है, उन बसेस का भी एक्सीडेंट क्यों होता है? अभी छोटे बच्चे भी हैं, उनको बहुत तरह के डिजीजेस हो जाते हैं, उनको क्यों होते हैं? वो तो इनोसेंट है. सो वी आर थॉट दैट बीइंग रिलीजियस, बीइंग स्पिरिचुअल is equal to God giving us things. It's very transactional. If you go to mandirs, and I don't want to name any, so that I don't want to invite trouble for any of us, but if you go to many mandirs, there are lines of people waiting with thalis in their hands, trying to offer something like a bribe. Yeah, even Ganpati Pandit. Even, yeah. Sorry to say, but it is, we have grown up transactional, and I wanted to change that because when I started, and we'll get into those questions, when I started looking for the real answers, the truth, the beautiful truth that came out to me was that Sanatan Dharma or Hinduism, it actually has very little to do with God as a figure. It has a lot to do with understanding who you are as a person. So it's a lot about self discovery. वी ऑल आर थॉट कि गॉड कोई स्वर्ग में बैठा है, हेवन में है, उसके पास जाना है, तो वी शुड डू सर्टेन थिंग्स. बट हिंदुइज्म एंड सनातन धर्म, आई वुड से it is clean, for the lack of a better word. It is more scientific, and it's a lot about understanding why we behave the way we do, why are we the way we do, what's our inner reality, what's our nature, all of those very interesting deep questions that maybe even science can't answer today. And it provides very fascinating answers. So I found that to be the selling point for me to step back into the fold. Ki it's not about getting something, it's about understanding, discovering yourself. So that's how I came back here. And for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Manik Things on Instagram, where I do everything that Aditi just mentioned. And yeah, looking forward to chat a lot more about this, but that's how the journey started. Great, great, Manik. Manik, you mentioned Sanatan Dharma and Hinduism in the same sentence. Are they two different things? Not technically speaking. So, what Sanatan Dharma? Let's break down the word. It has two words like Sanatan and Dharma. Sanatan means eternal, timeless, without a beginning or an end. हमें सिखाया जाता है कि there is a past, present and future. That's how like time always goes. But what our culture teaches us that it's always a cycle. This world is always a cycle, and now actually science is coming close to understanding that. So Sanatan means something that is always there. Now, how does this relate in practicality? It's very simple. And one of the most important concepts we are taught is that we ourselves are timeless. हमारा जो ये body है, whatever body we have, that is temporary. But the Atma, or the soul, as we call it in English, sitting inside us, it never dies. It just passes on from body to body. That's a concept. It's not yet proven by science, so I'll leave it at that. But that's a concept we are taught. So Sanatan means something that's always going on, it never ends. And that has a huge implication on how we view our life. We view our life as part of a cycle. So that's Sanatan. It teaches us that this is eternal, this is timeless. ये जो सच है उसका कुछ end नहीं है. The second word is dharma. Now when dharma, आप जैसे भी pronounce करोगे, ये word आता है, a lot of people think it is religion. But dharma comes from dharyate, Sanskrit. Dharyate means foundation. Now foundation क्यों बोला जाता है? So when we build buildings, we always say that उसके नीचे जो deep foundation होता है वो matter करता है. If we don't have a strong foundation and an earthquake takes place, the building's gonna fall, right? So there is a ethical, moral, whatever you want to call it, there is a basic foundation that's around our lives to make it better. And that's what Hinduism is all about. It basically tells us that अगर आप ये regulations है, rules नहीं बोल सकते क्योंकि dharma does not force anybody. There are certain regulations, there are certain universal truths. If you follow that, you and the people around you will have a better life. So if you combine the two words, अगर simple English में, if I have to say, Sanatan Dharma means the eternal truth of why we live. It has nothing to do with religion, faith, spirituality. It is just a basic set of rules that our dharma teaches us. Sanat
Basically have a good life, and like certain things which we can follow
for
to have a decent life.
decent life ourselves and also help others.
Yes.
Uh, and what happened was Sanatan Dharma has always been a web of things. Web of things matlab someone believes God looks a certain way. Someone says God is Vishnu. Someone says God is Shiva. Someone says God is Devi. Someone says we are God. So if you watch Sacred Games, there is a line that the Guruji character speaks, Aham Brahmasmi. So that comes from a philosophy inside Sanatan Dharma called as Advaita philosophy. Advaita means not dual. It means that we are the universe. But that's a point of view. So the easiest way to understand is that in ancient India, it was an interconnected river system of sorts. अलग अलग rivers थे, अलग अलग लोग थे, सबका अपना अपना एक perspective था और angle था, and no perspective is wrong. When foreign people came in, when the Persians came in, other invaders came in India, and they crossed the Sindhu Nadi, which is our name for the Indus River that we have learned in school. In our school days, Indus Valley Civilization, Indus River, तो हम उसको सिंधु बोलते थे. उस सिंधु का हिंदू हो गया, and that's how the term Hinduism came into being. Hinduism is nothing but all of these different practices that we practiced in ancient Bharat. So the word for that is sampradaya. Sampradaya means we had different sects. There are sects today that follow Vishnu, so we call them Vaishnavs. You have Shaivites who follow Shiva. You have tantric people who focus on tantra or devi worship. They are called shaktas as well. You also have Ganpatyas. I don't have to explain which deity Ganpatyas worship, pretty obvious. And then you also have Smarthas, who worship a combination of all of these deities. So that's called Smartha. Point being, all of these different clusters that were there in India, the foreigners wanted one name to explain all of them. And that's how Hinduism came into being. So whether you want to call yourself a Hindu or a Sanatani, it's just a matter of preference. There's nothing politically right or wrong in it. It's just our way of life. And I find this thing most beautiful that uh, if you look at many other faith systems, I won't name any again, with all due respect to them, they follow one rule book, one textbook. What I find very fascinating about our land, our culture, is that we have always believed in diversity of thought. Uh, and we have never believed in competing with each other. We have always believed in something called as tarka. Tarka means debate with you. What we are having is a conversation right now. So I find that very relevant to Gen Zs today, because we Gen Zs hate to be told and preached things. But we love a good conversation. We love watching a good podcast. Um, so that's what I think Sanatan Dharma is. Sanatan Dharma is a panel of very great thinkers, from Advaita believers. Like we had a great person called as Sri Adi Shankaracharya ji, to Ramanujacharya, to many other people, who each brought their own flavor. And it's like a buffet of different flavors that you can taste and then personally settle on the one you like. The beauty is that you wouldn't be wrong. It takes many forms, as we say. And I'll just end that with one of our most iconic lines found in our ancient texts, which we call the Veds. It says, Ekam Sata Vipra Bahuda Vadanti, which means that the truth is one, but different people know it by different names. So Sanatan Dharma is probably, just ending on that note, Sanatan Dharma is probably one of the very few faith systems that accept other faith systems and don't say कि हम superior है, बाकी सब false है. They actually say that, okay, if you are from any other religion, that's fine. That's fine. You can practice that faith on your own too. It doesn't clash. It accepts and it invites. So I find that like very cool and a Gen Z.
Actually, now that you mentioned that, Hinduism was a term that was coined much later on. Even if you read Valmiki's Ramayana, nowhere in the Valmiki's Ramayana does anybody mention Hinduism. Nowhere is that word ever mentioned. So that's really interesting.
And I'm glad you bring Valmiki Ramayana up because I'll just like to speak on that for a minute if you don't mind. हमें ये जो रामायण महाभारत हरि महोत्सव which is about Krishna, ये जो कथाएं बोली जाती है, the stories we are told as childhood, we are told these stories from a very mythology perspective कि ये तो कभी stories हुए ही नहीं, these stories कहानियां हैं. But actually, as adults, I would encourage everybody to go back and read these stories. You will find a lot of interesting life lessons. So I'll give you an example about Valmiki's Ramayana, which is called as the OG, original Ramayana. There are many other, there are over 16 to 24 other different versions of Ramayana. Again, any of them can be true as well. That's a whole other theory, won't get into that. But if you read Valmiki Ramayana, interesting thing you'll notice that Ram, Shri Ram, the god who we worship, he cries in it. He has anger issues, to be precise, with all due respect to Shri Ram. He screams in anger when Ravan takes away Sita Ma. He threatens to destroy the entire universe. When he hears about his father Dashrath, King Dashrath, dying, he these are real descriptions from the text because I've read them. He actually stomps down on the ground and he loses his cool and he actually becomes unconscious and he starts crying. When he is sent to Vanvas, the 14-year exile away from home, he actually cries on the first night because he's missing his mother and he's scared for her safety. He wants to go home. The point of telling you all of is that even Shri Ram faced a lot of troubles and he's shown as a very human character. But the point of Ramayana is that despite all of his problems, despite all of his struggles, he rises above all of them. So that's why he's called something as the Purushottam Maryada, like Maryada Purushottam, which means the ideal man. So the ideal man, the highest ideal of man, it doesn't mean he was perfect in that way. That would be a difficult term to use. The idea of Shri Ram is that he rose above all of his difficulties and he never gave up on his dharma. So his dharma, his duty, his foundation. So dharma dharyate जो मैं बोल रहा था पहले क्वेश्चन में, his duty was protecting his kingdom, was ensuring justice for Sita Ma by destroying Ravan. And there are a lot of other stories behind that too. He never gave up on that. If you look at Mahabharat, what is Mahabharat? It's basically Arjun, which is us, falling down on the ground when we see our own friends and our own families backstabbing us. Backstabbing is something I'm sure Gen Zs relate to a lot. Sometimes our own friends, our own exes do that to us. So that is Arjun. That is Arjun. And then Shri Krishna is that one interesting friend who guides him, who teaches him how to overcome that battle. Point being, if you look at all of our stories, they are just conversations on how to overcome the difficulties we face in our lives. So that's what I think makes sense to us.
Also, Manik, in Hinduism or Sanatan Dharma, there are so many different gods. Now, if somebody wants to start his or her journey, how does one know which deity to select to pray to first or to start following? How to be a follower? Basically, which deity is best suited for me?
Interesting question. So I'm not a religious authority, so I'm not going to give any specific instructions. But I'll tell you some interesting pathways one can explore. So the beautiful, again, core aspect of Sanatana Dharma is that you are not isolated. You can always join a group. It's, how in university and college we had a lot of clubs. We could join sports clubs, dancing clubs, arts club. So Sanatana Dharma again has the concept of Sampradaya. You can join a Vaishnava sect. You can go to a Devi temple. You can go to different temples, check out the vibes over there, see if you relate to, and then choose that as well.
That's a great way of telling me and explaining me.
So, Sanatan Dharma has this concept of what you are basically referring to is this concept of Ishta, Ishta Dev, which means personal God. Think of personal God as हम जैसे एक motivation coach खुद के लिए hire करते हैं. कि या हम खुद के लिए एक जिम ट्रेनर हायर करते हैं who can train us to gain more muscles or become fitter at the gym. This Ishtadev acts as your personal connection. Um, and you can choose that in a number of different ways. So number one is to visit different deities in their homes, their temples, and see which one you connect to. Okay. Number two is if you have a kundali or a birth chart. So I won't go into details, but in Hinduism we have certain birth chart. Which is the astrology that we talk about. When we are born, astrologers note down certain calculations and make a chart, so your chart will actually have the recommendation for your Ishtadev. Interesting. That's another way. Number three is you may have someone called as a Kula Devata. Kula Devata is the deity that has been protecting your family for ages. So your forefathers, your ancestors, all of the people from your father's side, mother's side, they may have already been worshipping maybe Lord Shiva or Lord Shri Ram or someone else, so you can ask your parents. That is the third method. But the fourth and last and most interesting method I have is I created, so we can link that in the podcast description. I created an AI chatbot called as Ishtadev GPT. And what it basically does is you can just enter your details. You can say, "Hi, I'm Aditi. I'm this years old. Currently, these are my problems in life. I am a extrovert or an introvert." You can tell the bot about yourself, and it will give you a recommendation of an Ishtadev. Yeah. So that's not meant to replace the official gurus or authorities. Of course, the best way is to go to temples and ask the gurus, ask the authority. It's a good way. Yeah.
A lot of people, what they do is if they want well, then they'll start praying to Goddess Lakshmi. If they want some obstacle removed, then they'll start praying to Lord Ganesha. So that is how they go. Like from what they want, then that is how they recourse to decide which deity they want.
That is an interesting way. So Ishta, I'll just finish that point and I'll come to that because I want to address that. So Ishtadev GPT AI, I feel AI abhi hai, so let's use it in the right manner. Instead of brain rot, I thought this is a good way, productive way of using it. So do check that out. A lot of people have told me it's very interesting. And one tip to keep in mind, let's say you're worshipping Hanuman or Devi or anybody else, it's very important to initiate yourself into it. So this is called as getting a diksha. Just as you get a gift, or if you join a college dormitory, there is an initiation rite or a ceremony. They make you dance, they make you sing. Whenever you join a new office, you have an onboarding procedure. It's very important to do that and not just start worship, which we call sadhana, just on your own. बहुत सारे youngsters क्या करते हैं, YouTube पे कुछ भी मंत्र तंत्र search up करते हैं and they start chanting on their own. We should not be doing that as youngsters because these mantras, they are very powerful codes that we don't understand. Mantras are not just poetry. You can't just read them. They have certain vibrations, certain energies in them that may or may not suit you. So if you think, okay, I want to worship Lord Hanuman, you should find a guru at a nearby temple or find someone who can give you a mantra. There are certain mantras like the Hare Krishna mantra. हम जो जब भी ISKCON temples जाते हैं तभी हम बोलते हैं Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Hare. So there are certain mantras that are open, but most mantras they are guarded. You have to get the approval to chant them. So my only request is you can choose whichever deity as you mentioned you want, but please do ensure that you are getting the right authority to accept you into that sadhana. Otherwise, what will happen is you might just end up chanting mantras that might hurt you, that might harm you, because they are powerful energies. So don't do it randomly.
In fact, I read a similar thing in a book by Oshijo, which mentions that mantras are actually like chemical reactions. You know, you can't just mispronounce also any word. It has to be extremely precise. Otherwise, the chemical reaction will take place in a way that you don't want it.
Don't want to.
Yeah, and it can misfire. So everything should be perfect, and that perfection can be achieved under guidance, as you said.
And it's interesting, you mentioned misfire, and you also talked about the earlier bit. that people decide that they want wealth, so they worship. So one interesting aspect of Sanatan Dharma is sometimes God, who we call you, he or she gives you the opposite of what you actually want to teach you a lot of certain things. And I wish more people understood this. Sometimes Sanatan Dharma, its entire core teaching, it's actually very simple. It uses the term called as Sharanagati. Sharanagati means complete surrender. You let go. When you're at a doctor, do you question the doctor ki doctor आप ऐसे इंजेक्शन मत लगाओ, आप हाथ पे मत लगाओ, पैर पे लगाओ. You accept कि डॉक्टर जो भी करेगा मेरे को ही करेगा. But when it comes to God, we get very defensive. We tell God, नहीं मुझे ऐसे ही करके चाहिए, मुझे इतना ही पैसा चाहिए, मुझे ऐसे ही तरह का पार्टनर चाहिए, या I want this wealth, I want that wealth. So that's the wrong way to approach this. It's important for you to just do your worship, do your prayer, and even if you want to ask it, ask out of goodwill and bhakti. Bhakti is a term we use. Bhakti matlab kya hai? Bhakti means I am asking you out of love. जब भी आप आपके पेरेंट्स के साथ बात करते हो, when you ask them for money or something, you ask them because they're your parents. आप हक से मांगते हो. Why not do that with God? With God, we are always ready to bribe God. मैं 100 लड्डू चढ़ाऊंगा, मैं ये करूंगा, मैं वो टेम्पल विजिट करूंगा. So it's necessary to worship with a pure heart, and also remember that sometimes you might lose your family, you might lose your wealth, you might lose your friends. And in Sanatan Dharma, the interesting teaching is that that's a good thing. So there are verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's a text, just as we have something called as Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which everybody knows. There's also another text called as the Bhagavad Puran or the Srimad Bhagavatam, in which God Himself declares that for some of His devotees as in us people who are praying to Him, God sometimes takes away everything so that God can destroy our ego. And this is actually the biggest challenge in Sanatan Dharma. I'm speaking so many different things, but if you ask me to summarize it in one line, the biggest goal of Sanatan Dharma, challenge or end goal of Sanatan Dharma, if you want to call it, is to make you destroy your ego. Ego matlab kya hai? In Hindi we call it ahamkar. Sanskrit we call it ahamkar. Ahamkar is the feeling that says, I'm the boss, I'm the OG, I'm doing this, I am that. And Sanatan Dharma says, no, you're not that. You are meant here, you have come here to serve people, you have come here to help people. It destroys your ego all of a sudden. You see all of the photos of these devis, and you see Kalima holding the heads of demons, right? Severed head. It's a very gory, bloody picture. So that's not the demon's head, that's our head. So what Kalima's photos or what any Devi's photos are trying to symbolize is that they cut off your ego. It's not the demons out there, it's the evil within us. So yeah, these are symbols I'm sure many of us weren't taught in school. But these are the real teachings and symbols. And this is how you pray. You don't pray to get it. You pray to be thankful, and you pray to God to say, Mera please ego hata do, and I'm surrendering to you. So that will help you get more results out of your prayers, is just the point I want to say. Yeah.
Manik, how come all the gods have originated from India only? Why haven't they been found in the US? They have never discovered these gods.
They have.
They have angels, right? I mean, is angels a thing in India?
So we also have apsaras. We also have kinnaras. So I'll answer that question very interestingly. In Japan, they have a deity called as Kangiten. Kangiten actually looks the same way as Ganpati Bappa, but it's Japanese. It's a Japanese deity, and guess what they feed them? The deity, they feed something called as Kangidans. In our India, we call those Kangidans as modaks. So if you look at it, there are variations of Hindu Indian gods across the entire world. You have Zeus and we have Indra. Both of them have the lightning bolt. Both of them share the similarity of being the father of heaven. So The point is to say that when we talk about our Hindu gods, there are 2 points to make. Firstly, we don't claim to be supreme. We say that if there is a Zeus and there is a Kangiden, they might also be the same versions of gods that people of those cultures have discovered in their own way. So it's not necessary that, okay, some god in the West, that god is false, our god is true, or our god is the first and they are the latter or last. They're just different forms that people in their own countries and regions have discovered in their own way. Secondly, important to keep in mind that Bharat as we know it, what has happened now is that it's very cool to not call yourself Indian or not call yourself Hindu. People don't feel comfortable taking pride in Bharat or India as their own identity. But the important thing to understand is that Bharat was once the cradle of civilization. Many people get very angry when I speak about Bharat being the best and talking about reviving ancient things. They say, "वो तो ancient Bharat है, आप modern Bharat की बात करो." So yes, India has had problems today. We are struggling with a lot of issues today. But it is important to take pride in that and recover all of that lost heritage, because we were the country, Bharat Varsha, we were the region where all of these deities chose to take their avatars. This is where Krishna came in, this is where Sri Ram came in, this is where Parshuram came in. So we are a special place, and it's okay. It's actually important to be happy about that. Bharat, when we refer to that name, it was a much bigger space than the political India map that we know today. Our reign or region extended to Indonesia. We also, our borders extended to modern day Afghanistan. So when we call it Bharat Varsha, it was much bigger.
Yeah.
The region was much bigger. So to summarize my answer, all of our Hindu gods, they have their own variations in different parts of the world. As Hindus, we accept them and admit them into our faith. And we also take pride in knowing that India and Bharat was chosen for this purpose. So maybe gods have a preference, just as we have a preference for McDonald's or Burger King. Maybe gods like India. Good for them, good for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Manik, in Hinduism, there's this concept of the soul. After death, the soul goes into the other body, reincarnates. Now, and then it has to go to either hell or heaven,
Okay.
right? So, how does this post-death system actually work? As in, is this the goal to either go to hell or heaven? Or is that where we go after death?
So very interesting. Death is a very huge topic in Sanatan Dharma, and we don't treat death as a bad thing. We don't treat it as an end. In fact, that's the whole reason why we chant Ram Nam Satya Hai. So I'm gonna get into the meaning of why we. You must have seen people carrying the dead and they're chanting that thing, Ram Nam Satya. So I'll come to the meaning of that. So what Sanatan Dharma basically says is that you have this body called as the Sthula Sharira. Inside you have a Sukshma Sharira, different layers. And inside that you have a thing called as the Atman, your soul. In the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, the easiest, simplest analogy is given that just as you come to home after a long day of office, you are very tired, you take a shower and you change clothes. So after you die, the soul simply comes out and changes bodies. This is very important because that's why we don't mourn the dead. Mourn the dead meaning hum dukhi nahi hote hai. Of course, you see people crying and everything, but that's because we are attached to our loved ones. So we feel like they're gone. But Hinduism says they're not gone, they're just changing bodies. So the soul leaves your body, and what happens is you, as your mind, as your Sukma Sharira, it has gotten very attached to this body. Like if you stay at your home for 10 years and then you are told suddenly get out of your house, you're going to panic, you're going to feel anxiety, you're going to have separation issues from your house. So because that happens, we decided that we will cremate the body. अगर बॉडी रहेगा ही नहीं, बॉडी अगर नेचर को चला जाएगा, तो वो जो आत्मा है, द डिपार्टिंग सोल, उसके लिए लेस पेनफुल हो जाएगा. सो दिस इज व्हाई वी बर्न ऑफ द बॉडी. There are many other reasons. Firstly, it is more cleaner, it saves space, it is less polluting. It also helps the people who have survived move on, because what happens if you bury, you always visit the grave
You get
every
a
year.
closure, basically.
You get closure. But the real reason, the most important reason, is that's why you cremate the body, because now there's no body. So the soul that has moved on, it becomes, the path becomes easier. नहीं तो क्या होता है, soul keeps coming back. Soul से हम बोलते हैं ना भटकती आत्मा for 14 days. That's what it is, because the soul is not ready to accept. It is said that at the time of your death, you feel a lot of pain. And our texts, actually, not to scare anybody, but our texts describe it as the stinging of 14,000, 10,000 scorpions all at once. So imagine that many scorpions stinging you at the same time. That's how you feel at death. So it is said that you should chant God's name, so it makes it easier. There are remedies for that. But anyway, so the point of that is very painful, no doubt about that. And then the soul leaves the body. Now, the interesting part is that in many other cultures, we are taught that there is a hell where bad people go, sinners
Like
go.
a boiled in oil.
Yeah, boiled we also have that, but we have it slightly differently. And then there's a heaven where the good boys, good girls go. That's how we are taught. Interestingly, in Sanatan Dharma, you'll be surprised to know there is no concept of heaven and hell. There are slightly different words, but there is no such thing as a heaven or a hell. We have something called as a naraka. So there are actually 28 main narakas, which are described in a text called as the Garuda Puran, where depending on the sins that you have done or depending on the bad deeds you are done, you are sent to those narakas to experience the same pain. It's called bhoga. So let's say if you
You
have,
reap what you sow.
you reap what you sow, but it is not that you will stay in hell forever. In other religions, there is a phrase called as you are damned to hell. Meaning आप उधर रहोगे हमेशा हमेशा के लिए आप हमेशा you will forever be boiling and all of that. We don't have something like that. If you've done bad in your life, yes, it's there's no sugarcoating it. You will face the issues, you will face the repercussions of it. There are different very bloody and gory descriptions about different narakas, which I'll not get into, otherwise this will become a horror episode. So there are different punishments for different sins, but after you have faced your punishment, you can again come back and do good. The interesting twist happens now. When you do good, a lot of people believe that you will go to heaven and sit there and enjoy there. Interestingly, there is no such thing called as a heaven in Hinduism. We have something called as a Swarga Loka. Loka is basically a level in the universe. Currently, imagine that there are 14 main levels in Hinduism. Each of them are called Bhuloka, Bhuvarloka, Swarga Loka. And think of them as a Donkey Kong, जो हम video game खेलते थे ना, as childhood. Think of them as steps or ladders, or we live in buildings, so think of them as floors. If you do good, you go one level up.
Okay.
So we have Swarga Loka. So let's say if you've done a lot of good stuff in your life, you'll go to Swarga Loka. This is
Squid Game. You just keep leveling.
kind of like Squid Game. Yeah, fair enough. So you go to Swarga Loka, but interestingly, the Swarga Loka is like an airport lounge. Airport lounge पे आप पूरा दिन नहीं रह सकते. आप 4 घंटे रहोगे. The moment your points are redeemed, you have to come out. So after you enjoy the merits of your action, merits as in the benefits of your action, अगर आपने लोगों को feed किया है, you have done good in your life, okay, you'll enjoy stuff in them, but you will again have to come back because you have done good karma, now it's exhausted, you have come back. So now we get to the point. The goal of Sanatan Dharma is not to do good or not to avoid bad. The goal of Sanatan Dharma is to do good selflessly. This is called as Nishkama Karma. Nishkama Karma. What this means is, a lot of us are told, feed stray dogs on Saturdays, feed poor people on Monday, do charity, do that. And then we are told to attach it to an outcome. Then God will give you something. Again, coming back to the main point, You should never do something for your own benefit. The moment you do that, you incur something called as karma. So karma is not revenge or anything. Karma is just the memory of your actions. Just as if you type something into a chat, the chat, you can see chat logs, right? हम screenshots ले लेते हैं और फिर दिखाते हैं दोस्तों को. तो karma is just a memory of all of your actions, and karma is only created when you do something for yourself, out of selfish reasons. So karma is created when you do something for yourself out of selfish reasons. The moment you do it selflessly, when you're helping a friend, when you're trying to help your parents or make someone happy, do you do it because they will give you money in return? No, you just do it because it's your friend's birthday and you want to make him or her happy. So Sanatan Dharma says, please live your life like that. Don't do good just so you can get benefits, because even those benefits are going to be temporary. You're going to come down. The only way to get to the last level, which we call moksha or liberation. Buddhism and Jainism also share this concept, but they have slightly different definitions of it. The only way to get to the last level is to not just doing good, but to do good selflessly. So again, this relates to the last point. मैं जो ego के बारे में बात कर रहा था. The important part is to remove your own ego and just help people, and do it selflessly. That's how you like go past heaven, past hell, past earth. So there's your answer. So the journey of the soul, soul keeps moving through all of these levels. Sometimes it will go to the dark worlds down beneath. Sometimes it will go to the nice places, resorts and retreats up there. In the end, unless you start doing what I was talking about, Nishkama Karma, it will keep moving like a tourist. The only way to remove ourselves from all of this is to, as I mentioned, become selfless. And that's a long journey. It's easy for me to sit here and say these things.
Absolutely.
Even I'm not there. Or maybe I would be in the Himalayas right now. So even I am learning. So it's a long journey.
The concept of karma, like Angelina Jolie also mentioned that she was scared when she was with Brad Pitt that karma will strike back to her because she took away somebody else's boyfriend. So that actually happens, right? But when you think about it, if I am suffering today because of my previous bad karma, uh, is it just my fault, or is it the perpetrator's fault also who has committed that sin at that point? How does this whole karma system work?
Sure. So didn't know about Angelina Jolie. Firstly, I'll have to chat up with her on it. But 3 points to make. The first thing is understanding karma. Uh, Karma is equal to revenge. ये ऐसा notion हमें सिखाया जाता है कि अगर if you throw a banana at someone, then tomorrow you will slip on a banana peel and fall, similar to what Angelina Jolie believes. So we are taught about karma in a very wrong notion and wrong way. Karma is actually just education or learning for your soul. So I'll explain how karma is actually structured. Think of your entire karma across many lifetimes. So across many lifetimes, abhi tak throughout this podcast, we have already established that our soul hops from body to body to body. So right now, you, me, all of us over here, we have taken many births and lives before, as per Hinduism, of course. Can't prove it, but that's what Hindu thought believes. So think of karma as the total bank balance of all of the actions you've done in all of your previous countless lives. So these, I say countless because we talked about how there's no beginning, right? We've always been there.
Right.
So you can't say, oh, मैंने 10,000 पहले lives दिए थे, नहीं तूने 20,000 दिए थे, नहीं. If we can't count it, it's not possible for our human mind to understand how many lives you have taken, and our soul remembers all of this. This is called as Sanchita Karma. Sanchita Karma is your total bank balance of all the actions you've done. Now, let's say you've died yesterday and now you've come back as Aditi today in a new birth. There is some bank balance that is withdrawn from this entire bank balance so that you can repay it in this life. This is called as Prarabdha Karma. So prarabdha karma decides whether you are born in location A or location B. What kind of parents do you get? Which situations you are born into? Are you born poor? Are you born rich? What kind of suffering you go through in life? You are repaying that karma. You are learning certain things. For example, if in your past life you had a lot of anger issues, in this life you may be given a lot of angry people around you to resolve those anger issues. So many a times there is this, if you're a psychologist listening to this, you will know this concept, that many a times our parents teach us how not to be. Many a times our elders, not everybody is blessed with the right parents. Sometimes there are a lot of strain between children and parents. So it's actually learning, it's actually education for that soul, and that's all happening because prarabdha karma is coming into play. But we don't remember all of this. तो लोग बोलते हैं कि isn't it unfair? How do I know that I have done bad in my previous lives? I have forgotten all of that. So why should I pay for it now? If I could remember all the bad stuff I have done in my previous lives, I would have done better now. The problem with that is, imagine remembering everything that you have done in 1 lakh, 10 lakh, 15 lakh, millions and millions of lives before. Just as if you load a computer with too much memory, too many files, what happens to your phone? What happens to your iPad? It crashes. Just like that, we at birth, when we are in our mother's womb, we actually remember everything that has happened to us so far. We remember our past lives. We remember who we were. We remember who we are. But the moment we come out of the mother's womb, um, when the separation happens, we are shielded by Maya. We are made to forget all of that so that we can do something called as agami karma. Agami karma means the karma you are doing right now, today. It is important for us to forget, because if we kept remembering, if we kept obsessing about what we did in the past, we would never be able to move forward, right? So that's why a lot of people say that karma is unfair, but it's actually very logical. It allows you to focus on the present and the future. So the whole point is to not think about your prarabdha, your sanchita, whatever has happened in the past, it is going to pay out. Okay. Important thing to remember is you cannot cheat karma. You cannot kill someone and then feed 1,000 people and then somehow neutralize it. वो ऐसे इतना easy game होता था, तो people would go around being evil on Saturdays and then they would go to temples on Sundays. That's what a lot of people do. They are bad to the people at work. But the moment they go to the temple, they become very religious. So you can't cheat karma. If you've done bad, no matter how much good you do, you can mitigate it. Mitigate मतलब उसका effect कम करना. हम कैसे vaccinations लेते हैं? You must be knowing all about vaccinations because you're in the field of allergies and all of that. So you can reduce the effects, but you can't immunize yourself. Whatever karma you have done in the past, it is gonna take place today. Now, the important thing to remember is, when I say all of this, it leads to a very dark, murky issue that if, let's say, a baby is suffering at birth, if a woman is unfortunately going through a lot of horrible things that happen to the woman in our society, many people jump to karma saying that, oh, are you using karma to justify all of the bad things and all of the evil things that are happening to women, to kids, to many good people in our lives? So the answer to that is no, because not everything that's happening to you right now is a direct result of karma. Okay. It can just be Durbhagya. Durbhagya means just your plain bad luck. We also have that concept. So it's not that if someone is suffering right now, it's because of their karma. Oh. It might just be happening because there's no luck. It's unlucky. There's also the concept of Rita. Rita means cosmic law and order. We have all seen weighing scales, right? So Sanatan Dharma says, no matter how wrong or politically wrong it sounds, where there's gonna be pleasure and happiness, there's always gonna be pain. Sanatan Dharma believes in that very logic that if there is positive, there will be negative somewhere else in the world. You can't resolve it. So it might just be because of Rita. And thirdly, it might also be because of the perpetrator, as you mentioned, the person who is harming you. They might be causing that, because in Sanatan Dharma, we do have the concept of Purushartha, free will. So if someone, let's say, is treating a woman wrongly or treating, I keep saying woman because a lot of people victim blame that the because the woman was dressed in this way, or because the woman talked like this, that's why the man. That's a very wrong way. That's victim blaming. So karma does not justify. Karma does not say that people should suffer. Karma just explains as one of the causes. So very important to make that distinction. Otherwise, then everything that's going wrong in the world, there are so many kids starving in different regions of the world. We would just say ki inka bad karma hai, let them suffer. And so that's not a justification. Karma is not a justification. And in Sanatan Dharma, there is something more important than karma, which is called dharma. So we talked about dharma previously. So I'll quickly elaborate on that now. The foundation that I was talking about, the values that I was talking about, principles, this is what dharma means. Dharma means doing justice for the society. If you are seeing someone suffering, no matter, because it is about their karma, about someone else, about Rita, about Durvagya, you are obligated to step in and help. So if you are seeing poor people suffering, you can't just say, oh, it's because of their karma, let them suffer. It is your dharma, it is your duty to go in and help those people. So that's the all overriding principle of Sanatana Dharma, that's justice. So yeah, that's how karma works. Karma is just you learning things.
Beautifully.
So it's not a bad thing. Karma is not some cosmic revenge system. Karma is just your personalized curriculum that is helping you learn and become a better person through your suffering, through your actions, through the experiences you face.
Beautifully good, Manik. One last question.
Sure.
In Hinduism, we have certain concepts which feel patriarchal, like Kanyadan to many, and even the very fact that menstruating women are not allowed to practice certain devotional practices or go to the temple, etc. What is your take on this?
Sure. So I'm glad you, because I was talking about women in the previous answer. So good way to segue to this. Uh, Certain a lot of points to make when it comes to women and Sanatan Dharma, because what Gen Zs are often told that it's patriarchal, it's anti-feminist, but that's not the real culture. It has been warped or misinterpreted over time, and I'll come to that one by one. Firstly, the idea that women are inferior or women are not important is immediately refuted, because in our ancient times, we had characters and figures like Gargi Vachaknavi, Maitreyi, Sulabha, Ghosha. All of these are women I'm talking about, who were extremely knowledgeable in Vedic wisdom. In fact, one of the starting verses in the Rig Veda itself says that the Vedas, the Veds that we have, the scriptures that we have, they are meant for everybody, man, woman, poor, rich, everybody. And we had people in the past who were women who not only studied the Vedas, they also participated in fierce debates on the Vedas. They also wrote parts of the Vedas themselves. So, who has written the Vedas? Vedas, they've been written by rishis. Of course, if you go into the technicalities, the Vedas are direct radio signals from gods, but they were ultimately learned, interpreted by the rishis. And these rishis, they were not just men, because when you say rishi, the image that comes in everybody's mind is there's a man with all of this mala and like jata and everything. But we also had women who contributed to these things. Uh, Secondly, all the shrutis and everything, they not only respect women, they also respect this whole concept of menstruation or periods, as we call it. they have always considered the yoni. Yoni is our way of saying womb, uterus, the reproductive organ of the woman. They have also always considered yoni as a very sacred thing, and they have always considered the act of periods as a very holy event that's happening, because what's happening when you are on your periods as a woman is that you are sacrificing your you're losing something, you're losing it. So sacrifice is yajna. A yajna can never, yajna is a word in Hinduism, it can never be impure. So actually, for people who say that menstruating women are impure, they're actually interpreting it in the opposite way. When a woman is menstruating, she's actually symbolizing the very act of creation. In fact, the whole system of Shakta or Tantra that we have, those guys believe in the Devi, and it's said that the Devi created this universe. So, in very simple words, if I have to put it, when you are when as a woman, a woman is menstruating, she's actually acting as a devi who's creating the universe, who's sacrificing her ovum, her egg, her seed for the creation of the universe. So, firstly, pure, not impure. Uh, because it was pure, in the ancient times, we had something called as Ritu Shuddhi ceremonies in different parts of the region. So, Ritu Shuddhi is a word that will have different synonyms if you're in Odisha, Bengal, Maharashtra, different names. But all of it, what used to happen was when girls used to have their first periods, they used to be celebrated. There was a celebration. So girls were actually not shamed or shunned. They were actually made to feel honored and happy that this event is happening for the first time. What happened was that over time, foreign invaders who came into our lands, and even orthodox men, the patriarchs, as you want to call it, they started misinterpreting our scriptures. They started misinterpreting the books and started using them as weapons to cage women, because women were at their most vulnerable point during this time, right? During those 5, 6 days of menses, you are very vulnerable. So they started misinterpreting it, and they started telling women, oh no, you are impure during this time. You should not do it, and you should not go anywhere. So now that was half truth. Half truth, why? There is also a kernel of it, because our Ayurveda, we have Ayurvedic texts like Charaka Samhita and all of these that describe all of these processes and even go into details about what happens during menses or periods, as we call them. So you know the concept of PCOS that many women and girls, these are described in our ancient texts, and what the ancient texts say that when you are menstruating, there is a certain energy flow in your body called as the apana vayu that gets very dominant. Basically, what it means is, if you look at it, agar aap ye sab Hinduism वगैरह छोड़ दो, if you look at it logically, what is happening when you're on your periods? Everything is flowing down. Yeah. You're going to remove the blood out of your body. So your entire system is going downwards. The moment you start meditating, practicing, doing sadhana, you are pulling yourself upwards, because all of these practices are meant to pull your energy upwards. That can create an internal tug of war within your body, which can disturb you and make you more cranky. So the reason why we sometimes joke, oh, women are cranky and stressed during their periods, there is biological basis to it, because your apana vayu, you have a lot of other doshas that are coming into play. So there are a lot of chemical changes in your body. So what women were basically advised is to just chill and take rest. Not touch things, not go to the temples, not go to the temples also because of hygiene issues. In the old days, we did not have menstrual cups, we did not have sanitary pads, we did not have all of those things, and temples were huge structures with a lot of stairs. Imagine as women making them climb those stairs and going into the temples, then of course bleeding there and creating a lot of hygiene and cleanliness issues. It was never about impurity. It was about giving women the rest that they need from their chores. But of course, this there is no denying that this it is also an issue of our own society, our own Hindu society made it into something bad, made it into something negative and impure. Does it apply today? No. because today all women, they have access to sanitary pads, like all, when I say all women, most women. Of course there are parts of our country and the world, unfortunately, where women don't have access to that, but most working women today, they go to work, they go on hikes and treks, they lift heavy weights at the gym. You guys do all of this during your periods as well. So if you want to pray, if you want to touch scriptures, if you want to do all of those things, it's very much open, encouraged, and welcome. It's said that sadhana kabhi rukni nahi chahiye. So you can always do your worship. There's no stopping that, because you have to look at it in different contexts. Same goes for these concepts like kanya dan and different concepts that we think are patriarchal. So kanya dan is a word that does not actually have a translation in English. We have translated it as dan, meaning donation. But dan means something pure. Uh, when a teacher is teaching you, what are they doing? They are giving you the dan of their gyan. They're giving you dan of their knowledge. When you are sacrificing your food, or we say annadan karte hain, hum food dete hain, you are sacrificing your own things that are dear to you. So Kanyadan used to actually mean that the daughter is the most dearest to the father, dearest to the family, and I am uh, giving the daughter, not giving in the sense that she's my possession, she's my property. I'm giving you the daughter in the hopes that you, as her husband, you as her man, will treat her with kindness, will treat her with love on my behalf, and will give her all the things to keep her happy. So what that used to mean was a very pure, beautiful thing. But what now has happened is Gen Zs don't get all of this context. They are told ये सब sexist है, feminist है, and we jump to conclusions and we create a lot of ruckus around it. So we don't understand the pure context under which these words were created, terms were created, and it's important to understand that. What I'd like to segue with that and end on a good note from my side is that all of the practices that we have been doing in the past, uh, it is important to understand them, take what was good about them, and take it forward today. Sanatan Dharma does not say that what was done years ago should be applied today. The beautiful part about Sanatan Dharma is that it evolves. It is not like other religions. Again, with due respect to all of them, it's not like other religions where one book is considered the only absolute truth. Uh, Many people believe Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, but people actually don't know that there are other Gitas in our Sanatan Dharma. There is a Ashtavakra Gita, there is a Anu Gita. So just as we had Shrimad Bhagavad Gita, which was said by Sri Krishna on the battlefield to Arjuna, Arjuna actually forgets it. And then years later in the Mahabharata, Sri Krishna actually repeats it in a form of a different words. That's Anu Gita. Point is, there is no one main book where all the rules are written. You can follow this, you can understand Mahabharata, you can talk to Purans, you can look at different agamas, nigamas, scriptures. बहुत सारी resources है. If anybody found this fascinating, I'll share links with Aditi, and I have created guidebooks and tutorials or courses to help you navigate this step by step. But the important part to remember is that throughout the last 1 hour, what we've been talking, the theme has always been that it is up to you to take what you want, understand from it, and basically just be a good person at the end of the day. Keep asking those questions. As kids, we were discouraged to ask questions. We were told, oh, it's disrespectful to God, it's disrespectful to our elders. But actually, the most important teaching of Sanatana Dharma is to ask questions. All of our scriptures are actually written as conversations. Srimad Bhagavad Gita is a conversation. Kathopanishad is a conversation between Lord Yama and a little boy called as Nachiketa. The Puranas, Garuda Purana is a conversation. Okay. Even if you look at it, Mahabharata is a conversation that's having. There's a lot of detail behind it. So all of our scriptures are actually just podcasts like this, where people sit together and ask questions. So feel free to ask more, feel free to disagree, and keep discovering more of it, because that's the beauty of our culture. It helps you evolve and it evolves with you. And that's the note I would like to share with everybody towards the end.
That was absolutely great. You've dissected every concept so well that it's going to be extremely easy for viewers to understand. And if you guys like this session, then please do leave a like, do share, and subscribe. Also, let me know in the comment section which was the best concept out of all these questions that have been answered today. In the comment section, which one did you like the best? Thank you.